They're literally like, look, we literally can't deal with you. Like, you're just too awesome, and we're overwhelmed and scared and shocked, right?
Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and aBible.
Today's day 300, covering Luke 8 and 9. Yep, we got to day 300. 300 days of Bible. I'm happy about that. It's also getting to that point for me. Yeah, cheers. I don't have a drink, but I'll just hold my phone up weirdly. It looks like it's censored. Anyway.
For the record, it's not just any drink. It is a nostalgic drink.
Sailor Jerry's? Oh.
What a Sailor Jerry's, my dude.
The original Sailor Jerry's.
Not the original. I do have an unopened bottle of original downstairs, but
that'll be worth some serious cash at some point. Yeah. For those of you who didn't grow up in Britain, so the best drink in the world may be a Sailor Jerry's and Coke.
Yeah.
And for no reason that I can discern, they decided to change the formula when Adam and I were what, like 18?
No, it was post-uni. It was like, 21-ish.
Yeah, and so then, you could buy a bottle of the original flavor Sailor Jerry's for like an extortionate amount of money. And Adam bought a few of them, which I remember sharing a glass actually with you once, and that was very kind, because it did cost about as much as a kidney. But Sailor Jerry's, if you happen to be Christian and watching this, please bring back the original. So much better than the stuff you do now.
Yeah.
This episode is sponsored by Sailor Jerry's. Anyway, so Luke 8 verse 2 to kickstart today. Very short thing, really. With him were also women who had been cured of evil spirits and diseases. We think about the disciples, the 12 all being men, and so on and so on. Really important to remember that there are actually way more than just the 12, and many of them were women as well. Mm-hmm. So, cool thing, but important thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many times the Bible gets accused of being sexist and discriminative towards women, discriminatory,
yes.
Towards women. And it's just not true. When you actually pick it up and read it, so some of it is cultural, like you said, descriptive, not prescriptive, which was sort of far more male-centric during those times, but so much of it is focusing on women. And the bit that I pulled out of that is literally the very next verse. Joanna, the wife of Chusa, the manager of Herod's household. So obviously Herod, a huge political figure, and the wife of the head of his household was part of Jesus's followers as well. Just huge.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I must have missed that somehow, but yeah, that's really, really cool. That's really, really cool. Awesome. Yeah.
I guess it's still me then, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Little subtle thing. So this whole a lamp on a lampstand, which is 8:16 to 18, gets referenced quite a lot. But for me, the bit that I love in there is verse 17, which says, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." This speaks volumes to me. I was living in sin for a very long time, and sort of in the belief that, oh, that's fine, I can just, I'll just bury that sin and I'll die with it. And, no one needs to know that crap that went on in my life.
Right.
But realized after a while that it just eats away at you. And that is the enemy lying to you, telling you that you can deal with that yourself and live with it. Actually, when it gets brought out into the open, it's painful, but it brings healing. And I think it's so important for people to know that if there is crap in your life that you're unhappy with, that you're uncomfortable with, that you wish you hadn't done, actually, it seems sort of contradictory, really, to bring that into the open and tell people about it. If you do it in the right circles, then if your friends are your real friends and your family is true and loving towards you, which they should be, it will be looked after in the correct way. There may be consequences, but there's forgiveness and there's healing.
That's really good, man. That's very good and absolutely true. And I think that's something that we all need to hear. So thank you for that. Luke 8, verse 37, all the people of the region of, I'm going to pronounce it Gerasenes, but it could be Gerasim, or I don't know. But anyway, this region asked Jesus to leave them because they were overcome with fear. So he got into the boat and left. So sometimes we literally can't comprehend the power and goodness of God, and it overwhelms us. And that's what's happened to these people. They're literally like, look, we literally can't deal with you. Like, you're just too awesome, and we're overwhelmed and scared and shocked, right?
Yeah, so true.
I think that that's part of the reason why God uses human advocates as well. I mean, obviously Jesus was fully God and fully man, but all of the prophets were just men, obviously great men, but men, right? And women. So I think that's part of it. God's awesome power and goodness is just too much. And even in Jesus, through a human form, right, taking on the flesh, incarnate, it still was too much for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's yeah, I hadn't sort of looked at it along those lines before, but that's good. I like that.
Sweet. So we're both 8:53. Okay, my thought of it is really, so they laughed at him knowing that she was dead. This is when Jesus heals and brings back, I think, a young girl, if I'm right.
The synagogue leader's daughter, I believe. Yeah.
Leader's daughter, that's right. Yeah. And this to me is just the very definition of a miracle, right? Because Jesus literally suspends the so-called natural order of things here, right? They knew, it says they knew that she was dead, right? But Jesus knew that he could instantly show that death is nothing more than sleep to him because he's God.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so cool. Like, whatever you think just remember that God's view of it is probably wildly different to what you think you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Ultimate red pill.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, fantastic. What I put out of that was, I think I mentioned this one in Matthew, and I referenced it to Matthew's view of it, focusing on them laughing at him because he, according to The Chosen, which may not be entirely biblically accurate or theologically correct, but I quite like it. According to that, Matthew, sort of the way he existed, may have picked out on that as sort of being teased and abused and stuff. But it mentions it the same way in Luke as well. And what interested me is this little girl has just died. And when Jesus said that she's asleep, they laugh at him, even though because they know that she's dead. However, this is Jesus who already we mentioned a couple of days ago about him bringing back to life the guy that was in his funeral procession. And
right.
Have the people that were there not heard the stories and the accounts of Jesus bringing other people back from the dead to the point where they laugh because they're like, she's dead, mate. Good one. Sleeping. Lol. Like, Anna, you saw what I did to, Billy Bob last week. Don't worry. Little Susie, she's just having a nap.
But that's the whole thing as well, right? Because even if they saw it, they didn't necessarily believe it fully in their hearts. And that's the thing, right? So yeah, it's a very good point, man. So very quick one from me. Luke 9, verse 3, take nothing, no bread, no money, no extra shirts. So just remember to be reliant on God. That's what Jesus was training his disciples to be by doing that. We've spoken about that a few times. And then Luke 9, verse 23, Jesus says to them all, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me, right? And this isn't exactly biblical or theological, but it just kind of reminded me, we're saved by grace, of course, and grace alone, but hard work also in the kingdom can pay off, right? Like, it doesn't always pay off, but you should be willing to give and be willing to die for the kingdom.
Yeah.
And there are the 5 crowns I've spoken about before, right? Like, it's not that you should do it for the reward, you should do it because Jesus died for you, but there is often blessing in that hard work and taking up your cross and understanding that you'll be hated because you follow Jesus in this world.
Yeah, fantastic, man. I love that. Thank you. I have a couple left at the end here. One along that same vein in 9:26. If any of you are ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of you when he comes in glory. And so it's just a real reminder to actually, when we're Christian, we have to be boldly Christian. We can't be, I think how I spent a lot of my young adulthood and sort of late teen years of, I'm Christian, but kind of trying to hide it. And the final little thing that I had was part of this the transfiguration thing when Moses and Elijah rocked up. And what interested me this time was it says in verse 31, they spoke about his departure, which was he was about to bring fulfillment at Jerusalem. Yet still, Peter and then James and John were hearing that and still didn't twig that this is what's going to happen. So I guess it's another, ears but not here kind of sitch. Yeah. So there we have it.
Great point. All right, nice.
Smashing. Tomorrow, a bit more of Luke again then, Luke 10 and 11. So why don't you beautiful people pick up your Bibles and get reading?
And if you get time or fancy it, share this with someone, eh? Cheers.